I'm Greg Nee. I'm on the Canterbury Planning Board, and I'm going to talk for a few minutes about the several zoning amendments on this year's ballot. Zoning ordinances are updated almost yearly by most towns in New Hampshire. Typically, these changes address errors and omissions in the existing ordinance and new state laws and changing development pressures and new technologies. Voting on ballot articles will be March 11th at the pre-town meeting voting session at the Canterbury Town Hall. This year, you will notice that most of the ballot articles are relatively minor. Most are clarifications and corrections and not large policy changes. However, they are important. The first zoning article on the ballot is Article 2. This will make several necessary corrections, clarifications, and make provisions for commercial solar fields and commercial EV charging in limited locations. Several years ago, Canterbury residents voted to allow cluster development, which promotes preservation of open space. The farmstead design alternative is one way this is achieved. The language of the ordinance allows this in certain zones, but it was inadvertently omitted from the table of uses, which causes confusion. This will correct the discrepancy between the language of the ordinance and the table of uses. Also, the language of the ordinance states that a convenience store can include gas pumps except in the aquifer protection area. Currently, the exception is listed in a separate section of the ordinance. This corrects that to make the ordinance easier to understand. Article 2 would also allow commercial solar fields by special exception and EV charging stations by right in the commercial and industrial zones. It would also allow commercial EV charging stations by special exception in the center and the Shaker Village zones. The special exception process can ensure appropriate locations to protect aesthetics in these sensitive areas. Article 3. This article adds definitions for commercial solar fields and EV charging stations. Article 4. This article changes the overly restrictive rule against detached ADUs on non-conforming lots to a restriction only on lots under 3/4 of an acre. Article 5. This article makes clarifications regarding commercial cluster development. It would clarify how dimensional requirements are applied. It would clarify that the required protected common area can be no more than 20% wetlands and steep slope combined. It would clarify that a commercial cluster development may have limited, not more than 50% residential use. Article 6. This article gives the planning board authority to make non-substantive changes, such as correcting misspelled words, eliminating duplicate text, adjusting spacing, numbering, and formatting, and updating references to laws, ordinance, and regulations. Voting is on March 11th at the Canterbury Town Hall. We appreciate your support. The Canterbury Planning Board has been working very hard to make our ordinance more user-friendly, both for the board members and for town residents. We really appreciate your support, so please come out and vote on the 11th.